Hey guys, tonight we are traveling to a time of profound faith and equally profound fear. A time when the world was seen as a battlefield between the forces of God and the legions of hell. And this battle was not a distant, cosmic affair. It could take place within the walls of a single town, a single house, or even a single human soul. We are going back to the Dark Ages, to a remote stone monastery, to experience what it was like to be a devout man of God who finds himself the unwilling host to a demon. We're going to explore the terrifying, personal reality of demonic possession in an age that believed in it with absolute certainty. Now, for our little reality check. The Dark Ages were a time of great upheaval, and for many. The local monastery was the only source of stability, learning, and protection in a violent and chaotic world. But life inside was no vacation. You'd be giving up all personal property, all family ties, and all personal autonomy. Your life would be a rigid, unceasing cycle of prayer, manual labor, and sleep deprivation, all governed by the ringing of a bell, and if you did fall ill with something that looked like a mental disorder. There was no therapy. The operating theory was that a demon was nesting in your soul, and the cure was often as terrifying as the disease. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Your support is a prayer that keeps this channel's work going. And as always, I love to see where in the world you're joining me from. So please drop your city and local time in the comments below. Now, dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum. And let's ease into tonight's journey together. Your world is a small, ordered island of stone and silence, adrift in the vast green and often dangerous sea of the Frankish countryside. The year is 814. The great emperor Charlemagne is dead, and the world is an uncertain place. But here, within the thick stone walls of the Benedictine Abbey of St. Michael, you have found a life of peace, purpose, and perfect. Predictable order, you are Brother Thomas. You do not remember the world outside these walls? You were given to the monastery as a child, an oblate, a gift to God from your noble family. This is the only life you have ever known. It is a life governed by the tolling of the great church bell, a sound that calls you from your simple straw-stuffed mattress before the sun rises for the prayers of matins, and sends you back to it after the final prayers of Compline in the dark. Your life is a repeating, comforting cycle of the 7 canonical hours, a ladder of prayer that connects your small life on earth to the vast. Orderly kingdom of heaven, ora et labora, prayer and work. This is the rule of Saint Benedict, and it is the rhythm of your world. You are not a man of the fields or the forge. Your hands are not calloused from the plow, but stained with ink. You are a scribe. Your labra takes place in the scriptorium, the quiet, intellectual heart of the monastery. It is a long, narrow room with high, arched windows that let in the cool, northern light. The air here smells of melting beeswax, of the sharp, metallic tang of ink, and of old, precious parchment. Your work is a form of prayer. You sit for 8 hours a day at your slanted wooden desk, a carefully prepared sheet of vellum-treated calfskin, scraped smooth and white before you, with a sharpened goosequill pen. You copy the sacred texts. You are a living machine for reproducing the Word of God. You spend months on a single page of the Gospels, your hand moving with a slow, painstaking precision, forming the perfect, rounded letters of the Carolingian script. It's incredibly important. Holy work. It is also incredibly slow. And if you make a mistake, you can't just hit delete. You have to spend an hour carefully scraping the error off the precious vellum with a pumice stone and a sharp knife. The pressure to not misspell Jerusalem is immense. You are good at your work. You are. You secretly believe. the finest scribe in the scriptorium. Your letters are more elegant, your lines straighter, your understanding of the Latin text more profound than that of your brothers. Brother Philip, the old stern master of the scriptorium, often gives you the most important text to copy. This is a source of great pride for you, a quiet, secret vanity that you confess each week as the sin of superbia, but which you cannot bring yourself to truly extinguish. Your world is one of intense spiritual belief. You believe, with every fiber of your being, that God is real, that heaven is a place of eternal light, and that hell is a cavern of fire and despair waiting for the unshriven. And you believe the devil is real. You have read the lives of the Desert Fathers, the stories of Saint Anthony wrestling with demons in the desert. For you, these are not allegories. They are historical accounts of the great, ongoing war between the forces of heaven and hell. A war whose front line is the human soul. The monastery is a fortress in this war, a bastion of prayer and order against the chaos of the pagan, demon-haunted world that lies just outside your stone walls. Your life is one of quiet fellowship. Your brothers in the monastery are your family. You work alongside them in the scriptorium. You chant the psalms with them in the choir. You eat your simple meals of bread, cheese, and weak ale with them in silence in the refectory. Listening to a reading from the life of a saint, it is a peaceful, predictable, and above all, safe existence. One afternoon, you are in the scriptorium, performing the most delicate of tasks. You are working on a new copy of the Book of Psalms, and you are adding the rubrication, the titles and first letters of each psalm, which are written in a special, brilliant red ink made from minium, a mineral of lead. It is a task reserved for the most skilled and trusted scribes. You are working on the first letter of Psalm 51, the great prayer of repentance. You have already drawn the outline of a great, ornate M for miserere mei. Deus have mercy on me, O God. You have your fine-tipped pen. You have the precious red ink. You dip the quill, your hand steady. You are filled with a sense of pious purpose, of the beauty and holiness of your work. You touch the tip of the quill to the clean, white vellum, and as you do, a sudden, violent, and inexplicable tremor runs through your hand. A great, ugly blot of red ink, like a drop of blood, falls upon the page, ruining the perfect letter. Staining the immaculate parchment, a collective gasp goes through the quiet scriptorium. Brother Philip rushes to your side. You stare at the red blot. Horrified, it looks like a wound. Your hand has never trembled in your life. You are known for your steadiness. You have no explanation. You look at the ugly red stain, and a thought, a cold and terrifying thought that seems to come not from your own mind, but whispered from some dark corner of the room, slithers into your consciousness. It is not a mistake. The thought whispers, it is a signature, a claim. This one belongs to me now. You cry out, shoving your stool back. Your heart seized by a sudden, icy terror. The other monks stare at you, their faces a mixture of confusion and alarm. You look at the ruined page, at the red blot that seems to mock you, and you know, with a certainty that defies all reason, that something terrible has just happened. A door has been opened, and something from that dark, chaotic world you have spent your entire life praying against has just found its way into the safe, quiet fortress of your soul, in the immediate aftermath of your cry in the scriptorium. A flurry of concerned activity surrounds you. Brother Philip, the master scribe, rushes to your side. Your friend, Brother Marcus, helps you to your feet. They see your pale face, your trembling hands, and they assume you are merely in a state of artistic and spiritual shock over the desecration of the holy manuscript. They lead you from the scriptorium, away from the accusing red blot on the vellum, and take you to the infirmary. You have just ruined a priceless manuscript, and possibly been claimed by a demon. All in all, it's not shaping up to be a great afternoon. You are given a cup of watered wine and told to rest, but there is no rest for you. You are now sharing your mind with a hostile tenant. The voice, or rather, the thought that is not your own, is a constant, insidious presence. You try to pray, to recite the familiar psalms that have been the bedrock of your life. But the words are twisted in your mind before you can even form them. You kneel in the chapel during Vespers, surrounded by the comforting, droning chant of your brothers. You try to focus on the glory of God, but as you look at the great wooden crucifix above the altar, the voice in your head whispers vile, blasphemous suggestions. It floods your mind with images of the Christ figure contorting into obscene gestures, of the saints in the stained glass windows weeping tears of blood. You squeeze your eyes shut, your knuckles white as you grip your prayer beads. But you cannot shut out the images inside your own skull. You're trying to chant a beautiful psalm about the glory of God, but the new roommate in your head keeps suggesting alternate lyrics that are much less holy and much more insulting. It's very distracting. This is the beginning of your private, internal war. You are a soldier of Christ, but the enemy is not outside the fortress walls, it is inside the citadel. In the very throne room of your own consciousness, you fight back with the only weapons you have: prayer and discipline. You recite the Paternoster over and over, trying to drown out the blasphemous whispers. You focus on the intricate work of grinding pigments in the workshop, hoping the mindless, physical labor can quiet the noise in your head. You even resort to small, secret acts of self-mortification, pressing a sharp stone into your palm during the long sermons, using the focus of physical pain as a shield against the spiritual agony. But the entity is relentless. It is a subtle and intelligent foe. It doesn't just assault you with vulgarity, it attacks the very foundation of your faith. During your work, as you meticulously copy a passage from the Gospel of John, the voice whispers, "Words on a dead skin. Do you truly believe this ink has power? It is a fleeting mark, soon to be eaten by worms, just like the body of the man who wrote it. And the body of the man you think was a god, this is the true terror. It is the demon of the scholar, the fiend of the intellectual. It does not tempt you with sins of the flesh, but with the far more dangerous sin of despair. It is the voice of acedia, the noonday demon that the old desert fathers wrote of. A spirit that drains the world of all meaning and makes the service of God seem like a pointless, foolish exercise. The constant internal battle takes its physical toll. You cannot sleep. When you close your eyes, the blasphemous images and whispers only grow louder. You lie on your straw pallet night after night, staring into the darkness, engaged in a 24-hour-a-day theological debate with a voice in your head that has a terrible attitude and an encyclopedic knowledge of your deepest fears. You grow thin and pale, dark. Bruised-looking circles appear under your eyes. Your brothers begin to notice. Your friend, Marcus, tries to draw you out. You are unwell, Thomas, he says one day as you walk in the cloister garden. You are silent and withdrawn. Is there some trouble? Some sin on your soul? You must speak to the abbot. You flinch at his words and pull away, terrified that if you open your mouth, the wrong voice might speak. Your rejection of his friendship, your sullen silence, begins to turn the concern of your brothers into suspicion. They start to whisper among themselves. They give you a wide berth. You are becoming an outcast in your own home. You know you cannot continue. The secret is a poison, and it is killing you. After weeks of this silent, internal torture, you reach your breaking point. You know you must confess. The shame of it is a physical weight, a sickness in your gut. To admit to another that your mind, the one thing you took pride in, has become a cesspool of blasphemy and doubt is the greatest humiliation you can imagine. But the fear of losing your soul is greater than the fear of losing your pride. One evening, after the final prayers of Compline, you go to the cell of the abbot. He is an old man, his face a testament to a lifetime of prayer and quiet authority. He is reading a scroll by the light of a single candle. He looks up as you enter, and his eyes, though old, are sharp and perceptive. He sees the state you are in immediately. "My son," he says gently, gesturing for you to kneel. "You are in torment," and it all comes pouring out. In a frantic, broken whisper, you confess everything. The tremor of your hand in the scriptorium, the red blot on the page, the voice that is not your own, the vile images that plague your prayers, the terrible, logical whispers of despair. You confess your pride, your vanity in your work, fearing that it was this sin that created the crack for the demon to enter. You weep at his feet, a torrent of shame, fear, and utter exhaustion. The abbot listens to your entire, rambling confession in a profound, patient silence. He does not interrupt. He does not judge. When you are finally finished, a spent and shuddering wreck on the cold stone floor, he places a gentle hand on your head. You wait for his verdict. You expect a harsh penance, a rebuke for your weakness of faith. But when he speaks, his voice is filled not with anger, but with a deep, sorrowful gravity. "Rise, my son." He says, "What you describe is not a simple temptation of the flesh or a trial of pride. The enemy has breached the walls. This is an infestation. His words confirm your deepest fear. This is not just a battle in your own mind. It is real. You are no longer fighting this alone," the abbot says, his face grim in the candlelight. "You are a brother of this house. Your battle is now our battle, and it is a battle we must win." You feel a wave of immense relief wash over you, so powerful it almost makes you faint. The secret is out, but with that relief comes a new and colder dread. You are no longer just a troubled monk. You are now an official case, a spiritual problem to be solved, a vessel inhabited by the enemy, a battlefield upon which the monastery itself must now wage war. Your confession to the abbot brings you a single night of exhausted, dreamless sleep, but it is the calm at the center of a storm. You have unburdened your secret, but in doing so, you have transformed yourself from a suffering individual into an official case. A spiritual crisis for the entire monastery. The abbot acts swiftly. You are relieved of your duties in the scriptorium, the thought of your hand, which might at any moment be guided by another will. Touching a sacred text is now unthinkable. You are moved from the common dormitory to a small, isolated cell in the infirmary wing. It is a clean, whitewashed room with a single barred window high on the wall. It is not a prison. The abbot assures you it is a place for quiet contemplation and healing, but it feels like a cage. Two of the oldest and most spiritually steadfast monks in the abbey, Brother Anselm and Brother Paul, are assigned to you. They are to be with you at all times. They are your guardians, your prayer companions, and, your jailers. They sit with you in your cell, their lips moving in a constant, silent stream of prayer. Their presence is meant to be a comforting wall of holiness, but it only serves to heighten your sense of isolation and shame. For days, the battle remains within you. The intrusive thoughts, the blasphemous whispers, the waves of soul-crushing despair, they continue unabated. You fight them with the prayers your guardians recite, your own voice joining theirs in a desperate, wavering chant. Then, one evening in the refectory, where you have been brought to take your simple meal of bread and weak soup, the demon makes its first move into the physical world. The abbot has instructed that you should not be completely isolated, that the familiar rhythms of the monastic life might grant you some strength. It is a terrible miscalculation. You are sitting at the long wooden table, listening to the designated reader chant from the life of a saint. At the end of the reading, as is the custom, the reader says, "Deo gratias," and all the monks respond, Thanks be to God. You open your mouth to say the familiar words, but what comes out is not your voice. From your throat erupts a low, guttural, and impossibly loud growl. Deo mendaciorum, it snarls. Thanks be to the god of lies. The entire refectory falls into a shocked, horrified silence. Every head turns to you. You stare down at your soup bowl, your heart hammering, your face burning with a shame so profound it feels like a physical fire. You did not form those words. You did not will them. Another being, a stranger, used your own mouth, your own tongue, your own breath to vomit that blasphemy into the sacred silence of the meal. That is the beginning of the loss of yourself. You begin to experience blackouts, terrifying gaps in time. You will be sitting on your cot in your cell, staring at the stone wall, and then with a blink, you will find yourself standing in another part of the monastery, the light outside different. Hours having passed with no memory of how you got there. Waking up in the middle of the chapel with no memory of the last 3 hours is a disconcerting experience. Especially when another monk tells you that you spent that time arguing with the statue of St. Peter about liturgical procedure during these lost hours. The entity you now think of as the stranger goes on excursions. It is not yet wildly violent. It is cunning. Its malice focused on small, corrosive acts designed to sow discord and desecrate the holy order of the monastery. Brother Anselm, your guardian, tells you what you did yesterday during the 3 hours you cannot account for. He tells you that you walked calmly into the bakery, and while the baker monk's back was turned, you took a handful of salt and kneaded it into the dough for the next day's bread, ruining the entire batch. You have a new, very unwelcome roommate living in your head. He has terrible manners, a flair for blasphemy, and occasionally borrows your body without asking to go and ruin the monastery's bread supply. Another time, you awaken to find yourself in the church itself. Standing before the high altar, Brother Paul tells you that you walked in during the hour of sext, turned the great silver crucifix on the altar upside down, and then simply stood there, a terrible, knowing smile on your face, until he and Brother Anselm led you away. You are a passenger in your own body, a prisoner looking out from the windows of your own eyes as another creature drives your flesh. Your own hands commit acts of petty sacrilege. Your own tongue speaks words of cruel mockery. You see your friend, Brother Marcus, approaching you in the cloister, his face full of concern. You want to cry out to him for help, but the stranger is in control. Your mouth twists into a sneer, and you hear your own voice tell Marcus a detailed and accurate account of a secret sin of pride he committed in his youth. A sin he has never confessed to anyone. You watch as your oldest friend's face crumbles in shock and shame, and he turns and flees from you. Weeping, the abbot begins a series of diagnostic interrogations, trying to understand the nature of the fiend, drawing on the ancient wisdom of the church fathers. A demon must have a gate, he tells you during a moment of lucidity. It cannot enter a fortified soul without finding a crack. Did this begin after looking upon some profane image, after hearing a blasphemous song, after tasting some strange food? He is trying to diagnose your spiritual wound, to find the point of entry, but you have no answers. There was only the tremor, the blot of ink, the whisper. Your reflection becomes your enemy. You catch a glimpse of your own face in a polished silver water pitcher, and the eyes that look back at you are not your own. They are ancient, cold, and filled with a mocking, reptilian intelligence. You recoil from the stranger in the mirror who wears your face. The monks of the abbey, your brothers, no longer look at you with concern. Their faces now hold only fear and a growing, resentful suspicion. You are a source of contamination. You are the locus of the devil's work in their holy sanctuary. Your reputation has shifted from pious but proud scribe, to that brother who sometimes yells in Latin and inverts the holy relics. Social gatherings have become a little awkward. The final escalation comes a week later. It is a feast day, and a great processional cross is being carried through the church. As it passes you, the demon within you surges with a new and terrifying strength. You are plunged into darkness. When you awaken a few moments later, you are on the floor, and the two strong monks are on top of you. Brother Anselm's lip is bleeding. He lunged for the cross. A terrified monk explains to the abbot, "He tried to tear it from my hands. He threw Brother Anselm against the stone pillar. The line has been crossed." The stranger is no longer content with petty acts of sacrilege and psychological torment. It has now committed an act of violence against both a holy object and a man of God. It is a physical danger. You are dragged back to your cell, and this time, heavy iron manacles are fastened to your wrists and ankles. You are chained to the wall. You are no longer a sick patient to be cared for. You are a dangerous animal to be caged. You sit in the darkness. The cold weight of the iron on your limbs a terrible finality. You listen to the sound of the heavy wooden bar being dropped across your cell door. You are a prisoner in your own monastery. A prisoner in your own body. And you know that the time for quiet prayers and watchful waiting is over. The beast is no longer just whispering, it is roaring. And the monastery must now decide how to fight it. You are a prisoner in your own cell. The cold iron of the manacles a constant. Heavy reminder of the stranger who now inhabits your flesh. The fear your brothers feel is a wall between you and them. They bring you your meager meals of bread and water. But they do not speak to you. They set the food down quickly and retreat, their eyes avoiding yours. As if your very gaze could contaminate them, your life becomes a terrifying cycle of lucidity and blackout. You will have hours of quiet clarity where you are yourself, alone with your shame and your prayers in these moments. The weight of what you have done is almost unbearable. You weep for your lost friendship with Brother Marcus, for the fear you have sown in the hearts of your brothers, and then, without warning, the darkness will descend again. A curtain falling over your consciousness. You will awaken hours later, your throat sore from screaming blasphemies you do not remember, your body aching from a struggle you did not command. The abbot, however, does not abandon you. He now sees you as his personal spiritual burden, a direct assault on the sanctity of his abbey. The investigation is over. The diagnosis must now be made. He begins a series of formal examinations, not to determine if you are possessed, but to determine the specific nature of the fiend that has taken root in your soul. He comes to your cell not with kindness, but with the cold, dispassionate authority of a physician of the soul. He engages the demon in conversation, and you, a helpless passenger, are forced to listen as your own mouth becomes a vessel for its cold. Intellectual evil. By what gate did you enter this vessel? The abbot asks, his voice calm and steady. The demon, speaking with your voice but twisting it into a sneering, arrogant tone, laughs. Through the gate of his own pride. It says he was so proud of his learning, his perfect letters. He thought his knowledge made him strong. He did not realize that a mind that is too open can let in more than just ideas. The abbot and the demon engage in a terrifying theological debate. The abbot quotes the scriptures of the church fathers, the pillars of faith. The demon counters with the twisted logic of the great heretics, its arguments sharp, intelligent, and designed to sow doubt. It mocks the abbot's faith, pointing out the supposed contradictions in the Gospels. The foolishness of the doctrine of the Trinity. After several days of these interrogations, the abbot renders his formal diagnosis to the other senior monks. You hear it through the barred door of your cell. It is as I feared, the abbot says, his voice heavy. This is not a simple imp, a demon of lust or gluttony that can be driven out by fasting. We are afflicted with a demon of pride, a fiend of sophistry and false learning, a creature that preys upon the minds of scholars and seeks to turn the tools of reason into weapons against God himself. The abbot has diagnosed you. The good news is, you're not just going mad. The bad news is, you're possessed by a highly intelligent demon who specializes in theological arguments and enjoys pointing out your personal failings. It's like being haunted by a very mean philosophy professor. The abbot decides that before they can wage open war on the fiend, the fortress that occupies your soul must be strengthened. The demon entered through the crack of pride. He declares, therefore, the cure must begin with the mortar of humility. You are put on a strict and grueling spiritual regimen. Your food is reduced to the barest minimum of bread and water, a constant fast to weaken the flesh and its desires. And you are commanded to pray, not the complex, beautiful psalms you once loved, but a simple, repetitive prayer. You must recite the Paternoster, the Our Father, 1,000 times a day. Your waking hours become an endless, monotonous cycle of the same words, over and over again. The idea, the abbot explains, is to use the simple, perfect prayer of Christ himself as a battering ram against the demon's complex. Prideful arguments, to fill your mind so completely with the words of God that there is no room left for the whispers of the fiend. It is a form of spiritual drudgery, a deliberate humbling of the intellectual pride that was your greatest sin. For a time, it seems to work. The constant repetition of the prayer is a kind of shield. The demon's voice in your head grows quieter, more petulant. The blackouts become less frequent. You feel a flicker of hope, a belief that you can, through the sheer force of will and humility, drive the stranger out. But the demon is ancient and cunning. It is merely lying dormant, waiting for its moment. That moment comes after a week of your new regimen. You have been praying constantly, and for the first time, you feel a small sense of accomplishment, a flicker of pride in your own spiritual endurance, and in that tiny crack of renewed pride, the demon strikes as you are reciting the prayer for the 500th time that day. Pater Noster, quies in coelis? The voice in your head, silent for 2 days, suddenly speaks, its tone one of amused contempt. Do you truly think this babbling can harm me? It whispers. Do you think your hunger and your tedious repetitions can drive out a prince of the air? This vessel is mine. His pride opened the door for me, and your new pride in your own false humility has just given me the key to lock it from the inside. A wave of cold despair washes over you, and then the darkness descends once more. You awaken to the sound of shouting. You are chained to the wall as always, but the abbot and the 2 monks are standing over you, their faces grim. Brother Anselm is holding his arm, which is bleeding from a long, deep scratch. It used your own manacles, the abbot says, his voice tight with a new and terrible anger. While we slept, it somehow worked a link of the chain free and used it as a flail. It has attacked a man of God. The experiment in quiet piety is over. You watch as the abbot's face, which had held a physician's concern, now hardens into the face of a warrior. The path of humility is not enough to expel a fiend of such arrogance, he declares, his voice ringing with a new and final authority. It does not fear our private prayers, it mocks our penance. It must now be confronted with a power it cannot deny, a holiness it cannot bear. It must be brought face to face with the sacred foundation of this abbey. We will bring it before the bones of our holy founder, Saint Michael himself. The decision has been made. The time for healing and strengthening is over. The time for direct, open, and holy war has begun. The abbot's grim diagnosis hangs in the air, a formal declaration of war. The battle for your soul now moves from the realm of quiet prayer and penance to one of direct, holy confrontation. The monastery is about to deploy its ultimate weapon, the spiritual treasure that is the source of its fame and power. the sacred relics of its patron saint, before the ritual begins. The abbot gathers the monks in the chapter house to explain the theology of this new offensive. You are brought in, chained and guarded, to listen. A demon is a creature of lies and filth, the abbot says, his voice resonating with a new, hard authority. It cannot bear the touch of true holiness, the bones of a saint, having been a temple of the Holy Spirit in life, remain saturated with divine grace and death. To a demon. A true relic is not a dead object. It is a burning coal. It is a fragment of heaven's fire, and we shall use it to scourge the fiend that has taken root among us. He speaks of your abbey's most precious possession, the forearm bone of its founder, a great and holy man from centuries past. Saint Michael the Lesser, housed in a magnificent reliquary of gilded silver and rock crystal. This is the weapon he intends to wield. The first confrontation takes place in the main chapel. Before the high altar, you are dragged from your cell, the iron manacles on your wrists and ankles clanking on the cold stone floor. The monks of the abbey are assembled, their voices joined in a powerful, unified chant of a psalm of protection. The two strong lay brothers, Raymond and Luke, hold you firmly, one on each side. The abbot, now dressed in his full, magnificent vestments, stands before the altar with great reverence. He opens the golden reliquary. He carefully lifts out the ancient, yellowed bone of the saint. The moment the relic is brought into the open air, the stranger inside you begins to stir. A low, guttural growl escapes your lips. You feel a wave of pure, unadulterated hatred and fear wash through you. An emotion so powerful and so alien it is almost paralyzing. The abbot begins to pray, not to God, but directly to the saint. "O blessed Michael," he chants, "behold this sheep of your flock, who has been seized by the ravening wolf. Come to the aid of your servant, by the merit of your holy life and glorious death. Drive this foul spirit from this house of God." He then begins to advance towards you, holding the sacred bone before him like a sword. The demon within you panics. It thrashes against the grip of the monks, your body thrown about with a strength you do not possess. It screams, your own throat producing a sound of pure, animalistic terror. "No," it shrieks, the voice a tortured rasp. "Keep the dead thing away. The dust of the Nazarene slave it burns." The abbot does not stop. He presses the reliquary containing the bone against your forehead. The sensation is one of absolute, blinding agony. You are the rope in a spiritual tug-of-war. From one side, you feel the cold, hateful energy of the demon, recoiling in terror. From the other, you feel an intense, searing heat from the relic, a holy fire that feels as if it is burning straight through your skull. You scream, a long, tearing sound that is a mixture of your own pain and the demon's rage. The demon, forced by the relic's power, is made to speak the truth. "Michael," it shrieks, "I know you, soldier of the Nazarene. Take your fire from me." The reaction is definitive. The relic is real. Its power is true, in a strange, horrifying way. Your torment is now being used as a tool to prove the authenticity of the monastery's most prized possession. This is not a single, swift cure. The abbot believes the demon is too strong, too deeply entrenched to be driven out by one application. It must be weakened over time. And so begins a new and terrible daily routine. Every day, you are dragged to the chapel. Every day, you are forced into the presence of the holy relics. Every day, you are subjected to the dual torment of the demon's panicked rage inside you, and the relic's holy fire pressed against you. The toll this spiritual war takes on your physical body is immense. You cannot eat, you waste away, your flesh seeming to shrink on your bones. You are a living battlefield, and the landscape of your body is being destroyed by the conflict raging within it. The moments of lucidity you are granted between the sessions are perhaps the worst part. You are left weak, trembling, and aching. Your mind filled with the memory of the agony and the echo of the demon's blasphemous screams. You begin to pray not for deliverance, but simply for an end, any end, to the torment. After a full week of these daily battles, a grim reality becomes clear. The demon is being tormented. Yes, it is being weakened, but it is not leaving. It is clinging to your soul with a desperate, furious tenacity. Like a cornered beast, it has been wounded, but not mortally. The abbot, his own face now etched with a deep weariness, comes to a terrible conclusion. He gathers the senior monks. You are brought before them, slumped between your two guards. The holiness of our founder is strong, the abbot declares. His voice heavy. It is strong enough to wound the fiend, to cause it great pain. But the demon that afflicts our brother is a prince of pride. Its roots run too deep. Our holy Michael can hold it at bay, but he cannot. From here, cast it out. He looks at you, his eyes filled with a mixture of pity and a new, grim resolve. The battle cannot be won in this place. We must take this war to a greater field. We must bring this demon before a power so immense, so legendary, that even a prince of hell cannot withstand it. A murmur runs through the assembled monks. They know what he means. We will undertake a pilgrimage. The abbot announces, we will take our brother Thomas to the great shrine at Tours. We will bring him to the tomb of the great Saint Martin himself. The name hangs in the air. Saint Martin of Tours? One of the greatest saints of the Frankish people. A bishop renowned for his miracles, his power over the forces of darkness legendary throughout Christendom. His tomb is a place of immense power, a site of countless miraculous healings and exorcisms. It is a desperate last-ditch effort, a journey of over 100 leagues, on foot. With a man who is violently possessed, it will be a perilous, difficult, and dangerous undertaking. But it is the only hope you have left. The local war has ended in a stalemate. Now, you must march to the capital to seek the aid of the great king. The abbot's decision to take you on a pilgrimage to the great shrine of Saint Martin at Tours is a desperate, final gambit. It is an admission that the spiritual power of your own small abbey, which had once seemed like an impenetrable fortress, is not enough. You are a soldier so grievously wounded that you must be carried from the local field hospital to the emperor's own pavilion. The preparations for the journey are swift and somber. This is not a normal pilgrimage of hopeful, singing travelers. It is the grim, guarded transport of a living weapon of the enemy. A small, dedicated party is chosen. The abbot himself will lead your two powerful monk guards. Brother Remen and Brother Luke will be the arms of the expedition. A younger lay brother is tasked with leading a donkey laden with supplies hard bread, dried meat, water skins, and the sacred arsenal you have already prepared the holy water, the blessed salt, and the precious reliquary of Saint Michael. And then there is you. You are the dangerous cargo for the journey. The heavy iron manacles are replaced with thick, blessed ropes, tied in a series of complex knots that are themselves a form of binding prayer. Your hands are bound before you. At times, when you pass near a village or on a busy road, a clean linen gag is placed in your mouth to prevent the demon from shouting blasphemies at innocent passers-by. You are the most difficult travel companion in history. You require constant supervision. You're prone to screaming blasphemies at strangers, and you have to be tied up at night. You leave the abbey at dawn, slipping out a side gate like thieves in the night, avoiding the eyes of the local villagers. As you walk away from the stone walls that have been your entire world, a profound sense of despair washes over you. It is a despair that is not your own, but that of the fiend within. For it knows it is being dragged away from its comfortable lair and towards a place of immense and hostile power. The journey is an ordeal. You are now exposed to the chaotic, unpredictable world outside the monastery's ordered walls. The roads are rough, often little more than muddy tracks through the vast, dark forests of Gaul. The world feels wild, and you understand why your brothers believe it to be the devil's territory. Every strange shadow in the woods, every howl of a distant wolf, feels like a new and waiting threat. Your small party becomes a moving sanctuary, a tiny island of prayer in a sea of wilderness. The abbot and the monks maintain a constant vigil. As you walk, they recite the Psalms, their voices a low, steady murmur. The journey is a continuous, mobile exorcism. The demon does not go quietly. It hates this journey. It cannot manifest with the same violent force as it did in your cell. As the constant prayers and the presence of the relic keep it suppressed, but it resorts to a campaign of subtle, grinding torment. It whispers in your mind, telling you that your brothers are leading you into the wilderness to abandon you. It causes you to stumble on the rough path, hoping you will twist an ankle and halt the journey. It fills you with a bone-deep weariness, a spiritual lethargy that makes every step a monumental effort. You travel the ancient Roman roads, now cracked and overgrown, a reminder of a fallen, older order. But you also travel along the sacred geography of the faithful. The abbot, a wise and experienced traveler, chooses your route to pass by other smaller holy sites, a sacred spring where a hermit once lived, a small chapel containing the finger bone of a local martyr. At each of these places, you stop. The abbot blesses you with the local holy water. He has you kiss the minor relic. He is, you realize, recharging your spiritual defenses along the way, like a general securing supply lines on a long campaign. The greatest danger comes when you must interact with the secular world. One evening, a great storm forces you to seek shelter in a small, rough village inn. The common room is crowded with local farmers, a few merchants, and a group of rowdy soldiers. The air is thick with the smell of wet wool, cheap ale, and secular life. The sudden immersion in this world of casual sin and weak faith seems to energize the demon within you. As you sit quietly in a corner, a fight breaks out between two of the soldiers. The room is filled with their loud, profane curses. In that moment of chaos, the fiend sees its chance. It surges past your weakened defenses. You let out a terrible, piercing shriek, a sound of pure, inhuman rage, and you begin to spew a torrent of the foulest blasphemies in a Latin so vile it makes even the hardened soldiers recoil in shock. The inn is thrown into a panic. The monks leap upon you instantly, wrestling you to the floor, forcing the gag back into your mouth. The abbot stands and raises his hands, his face a mask of calm authority. "Forgive this poor soul," he shouts to the terrified patrons. "He is a brother from our abbey, afflicted with a terrible sickness that causes fits to seize his mind and his tongue. We are taking him on a holy pilgrimage to the shrine of St. Martin to seek a cure." The abbot's quick thinking calms the immediate panic. But the damage is done. You are hustled out of the inn and forced to spend the night in a cold, wet stable, chained to a post like an animal. After that incident, you avoid the villages, sleeping in the forests or seeking the hospitality of other isolated monasteries. Weeks pass. The journey wears on you all. The monks are exhausted from their constant vigilance. The abbot's face is etched with new lines of strain. And you are a ghost, a shell, your body wasting away, your mind a permanent battleground. Then, one afternoon, after a long climb up a rolling hill, you see it in the distance, a great city, its walls strong, its spires reaching for the sky, and rising from its center. The magnificent roof of a great basilica. It is the city of Tours, and that is the shrine of St. Martin. You have arrived. The long, desperate pilgrimage has reached its destination. You stand on the hill, looking down at the city, the ropes cutting into your wrists, your body trembling with a mixture of exhaustion and a new, escalating terror. You have been dragged across a kingdom to this place of ultimate power. You are a prisoner being delivered to the court of the great king. Your final battle is at hand. You arrive at the great city of Tours as a prisoner of war. Your body the occupied territory of a foreign power. Your small, weary group makes its way through the bustling streets, a stark and somber contrast to the everyday life of the city around you. You are led directly to the center of the city's spiritual life, the great Basilica of St. Martin. The basilica is one of the most famous pilgrimage sites in all of Christendom. It is a vast, humming hive of faith. The air inside is thick with the smoke of 1,000 beeswax candles and the low murmur of constant prayer. The great stone hall is filled with pilgrims from every corner of the Christian world. The sick, the lame, and the desperate all come to seek a miracle at the tomb of the great saint. The moment you pass through the great doors and into the sacred space, the demon within you recoils. You feel a jolt, a sharp spiritual pain, as if you have stepped into a cleansing fire. The air itself, saturated with centuries of prayer and the palpable holiness of the saint, is an agony to the fiend. It begins to thrash in the cage of your soul, and the two strong monks, Raymond and Luke, must tighten their grip on your arms. The abbot of your monastery meets with the senior monks who serve the basilica. They are men who are accustomed to dealing with the afflicted. They see the state you are in, and they nod with a grim, professional understanding. They agree to lend their aid. The final battle will be a joint operation. You are not to be exorcised in the main church, in the sight of the common pilgrims. The ritual is too dangerous, too terrible. They lead you down a set of worn stone steps, down into the crypt beneath the high altar. The crypt is a cold, silent, and immensely powerful place. The air is still and smells of old stone, damp earth, and a faint, sweet scent of sanctity, like ancient incense that has soaked into the very rock. In the center of the chamber stands the great stone sarcophagus of St. Martin himself. For centuries, the bones of the great bishop, the soldier of Christ who battled paganism and heresy, have rested here. This is the heart of the fortress. This is the command tent of the great general in the war against the darkness. Your ordeal is to take place here, at the very foot of the source of the power. The monks chain you, with your iron manacles, to a thick stone pillar directly before the saint's tomb. You are now a sacrifice being presented at the altar, a tribute to the power of the holy dead. The exorcism begins. It is not just your abbot who presides. He is joined by two of the most senior monks of the basilica. It is a council of war. They do not begin with the lesser rites. The time for that is long past. They begin the great rite of exorcism immediately. The crypt is filled with the powerful, unified chanting of the priests, their voices echoing off the low stone ceiling. They hold the blessed crucifix, the reliquary of St. Michael, and now a piece of cloth that is said to be a fragment of St. Martin's own cloak. Before your face, the effect is immediate and catastrophic. You are no longer a man. You are a battleground. You feel the demon within you shrieking, a soundless scream of pure agony inside your own mind. It is being burned, scourged by the concentrated holiness of this place. At the same time, you feel your own body being thrown against the iron chains, the demon using your flesh as a shield, as a weapon. Your experience becomes a vortex of torment. You are a passenger, trapped behind your own eyes, watching a war rage over the territory of your body. You hear your own voice screaming blasphemies against St. Martin, calling him a dead dog and a rotten corpse. You feel your own limbs straining against the chains with a strength that is not yours. The iron links creaking under the strain. The priests are relentless. They form a wall of prayer around you. They sprinkle you with holy water from the saint's own well, and each drop feels like a hot coal against your skin. They press the relics against your flesh, and you feel a searing pain, as if you are being branded with a holy fire. The demon, cornered in an agony, unleashes its final defenses. It uses its knowledge of their hearts against the priests. It screams out their secret sins of pride, their moments of doubt, their hidden vanities. But these men are not the simple village priest, Father Thomas. They are veteran soldiers of the Spirit. They have heard the devil's lies 1,000 times. They do not falter. They simply pray louder. Their voices a unified, impenetrable shield of faith. The battle rages for hours. You lose all sense of time. There's only the pain, the screaming, the chanting, and the terrible, violent struggle within your own skin. Finally, you feel a shift. The demon's rage begins to curdle into a new sound, a sound of fear. It knows it is beaten. The power of this place, the accumulated faith of millions of pilgrims, and the terrible, silent holiness of the great saint are too much for it. It is trapped. The abbot steps forward. He holds the crucifix before your eyes. "Fiend one," he commands, his voice a thunderclap in the small crypt. "You are broken, the soldier of God. Martin has defeated you by his power, and in the name of the most holy Trinity. I command you now to speak your true name." The demon lets out a final, "Great!" defiant roar of hatred, and in the midst of that roar, it screams its name. The name you have heard before, a final admission of its identity. "Furcus, you are named." "Furcus," the abbot thunders. "You are known, you have no more secrets, you have no more power here. I command you now, by the might of St. Martin and the blood of the Lamb. Depart." He presses the relic of St. Martin against your heart. You feel a final, violent, wrenching sensation, as if your very soul is being torn in two. A great, shuddering convulsion seizes your entire body, a force so powerful it snaps one of the iron chains holding you. A single, final scream, a sound of pure loss and defeat, is torn from your throat, and then it is gone, a profound, absolute, and holy silence descends upon the crypt. The oppressive, malevolent presence that has been your constant companion for a year has vanished. The air is clean and light. Your body, released from its tormentor, slumps against the remaining chains. Limp and utterly spent, you lift your head. Your eyes are your own again. You look at the abbot, at the monks, at the stone sarcophagus of the saint. You see them not as adversaries or tormentors, but as your saviors. You begin to weep, not with the demon's rage, but with the quiet, grateful, and heartbroken tears of a man who has been rescued from the very brink of hell. The battle is over. The demon is gone. You are free. But as the monks come forward to unlock your chains and carry your broken, exhausted body out of the crypt, you know that the monk who entered this city is not the same man who will leave it. You have been saved, but you are also a ruin, a battlefield left scarred and silent after a terrible war. You awaken in a whitewashed room, the likes of which you have not seen in what feels like a lifetime. The air is clean, and the only sound is the gentle cooing of doves from a courtyard outside. You are in a guest cell in the infirmary of the great Basilica of St. Martin. The iron manacles are gone. You are dressed in a clean, soft linen robe. You are weak, your body feeling as fragile as a bird's egg. But your mind is silent. For the first time in over a year, the hateful, chattering, blasphemous voice of the stranger is gone. The quiet in your own head is so profound, so absolute, that it is almost as shocking as the demon's roar was. You are alone in your own soul again. You weep, not with sorrow or terror, but with a quiet, overwhelming relief. Your recovery is a slow and gentle process. The monks of Tours care for you with a tender respect. They bring you warm broths and soft bread to rebuild your strength. Your abbot and your brothers, Remen and Luke, stay with you. Their faces no longer filled with the grim tension of battle, but with a quiet, prayerful concern. You are free, but you are not fearless. The ordeal has left deep scars on your soul. You sometimes wake in the night, your heart pounding, with the phantom echo of the demon's laughter in your ears, you will flinch at a sudden loud noise. The abbot of Tours counsels you. The enemy has been driven from the fortress. He tells you, but the walls have been battered. They are weak. You must now spend your life rebuilding them with prayer and with humility. The demon has been cast out, but the sin of pride, the crack through which it entered, is a thing you must guard against forever. After a month, you are strong enough to travel. Your small band begins the long journey home to the Abbey of St. Michael. The journey is a revelation. The world, which on your outbound trip was a landscape of terror and menace, now seems beautiful, touched by the grace of God. You see the sunlight filtering through the great trees of the forest, not as a fleeting light in the devil's domain, but as a sign of God's own presence. Your perspective on the world has been permanently and profoundly altered. Your return to your home abbey is a quiet, solemn affair. Your brothers welcome you back, but there is a new distance in their eyes. You are no longer simply Brother Thomas. You are the one who was possessed. You are the one who wrestled with a demon and survived. You are a living legend in your small community, a man who has walked through the fire, and they look at you with a mixture of awe, pity, and a certain lingering, fearful respect. You know you cannot return to your old life in the scriptorium. The memory of the red blot on the vellum, the memory of the blasphemies that filled your mind as you tried to copy the holy words, is too painful. The pride you once took in your perfect script now seems like a grotesque vanity. You seek out a new kind of work, a new kind of labora. You ask the abbot to assign you to the monastery's herb garden, to work alongside your old friend, Brother Marcus. The abbot understands, and he agrees. And so, you find a new, quieter, and more humble path to peace. You spend your days on your knees in the rich, dark earth. You learn the names and the natures of the healing herbs. You learn the rhythm of the seasons, the patience of tending to living things. You, who once battled a demon of false, prideful words, now find your solace in the simple, honest silence of growing things. Your hands, once stained with the ink of sacred texts, are now permanently stained with the good. Clean dirt of the earth, the years pass. Your story becomes a part of the monastery's history. A cautionary tale told to young novices about the dangers of intellectual pride. You become a quiet, respected figure in the abbey, known for your humility, your gentleness, and the deep, sad wisdom in your eyes. You have been to hell, and it has, in a strange and terrible way, made you a holier man. Decades later, you are an old man yourself. Your hair is white as a dove's wing. You are sitting in the herb garden, shelling beans, the afternoon sun warm on your back. A young novice, a boy with the same bright, intelligent, and prideful eyes you once had, comes to you. He is a brilliant student in the scriptorium, and he is troubled by doubts. He asks you, the man who is a legend, about your great ordeal. Was it truly a demon? Brother Thomas, he asks, or was it a sickness of the mind, a fever of the soul? You look at the boy, and you smile. A gentle, weary smile. The scholars of the world can debate the name of the sickness. You say, your voice a soft rasp? Whether it is called demonium or melancholia or superbia, but I can tell you this. I was a prisoner in my own house, and my brothers, through their faith and their love, and by the grace of God and his great Saint Martin. They broke down the door and set me free. You look out at the stone walls of your abbey, the fortress that became your hospital, your battlefield, and your home. The demon taught me a terrible and valuable lesson. You tell the boy that the mind can be a dangerous and treacherous place, but the abbot taught me a greater one, that the love of your brothers and the grace of God is a fortress that no demon, no matter its name, can ever truly conquer. And so your story, the story of the possessed monk, finds its end, not in terror or in triumph, but in a quiet garden, in a state of profound and humble peace. The great violent war for your soul is a distant memory, a story you now tell to help a new generation find its own way. The scars on your soul remain, but they are no longer wounds. They are reminders of a battle fought and won, and of the terrible, beautiful grace that brought you home. Let the memory of that ancient, spiritual war now fade. The demon's screams are silent. The abbot's prayers are answered. The monastery is at peace. The world of the Dark Ages, with its profound faith and its equally profound fears, recedes into the soft mists of history. All that is left is the stillness of the garden, the warmth of the sun, and the quiet wisdom of a scarred soul. There are no demons here. There is no torment. There is only the calm and the quiet. A final, gentle peace to welcome you into your own restful sleep.